Hey, what's up, everyone? My name is Desiree,
And I'm Sarah.
and welcome back to another episode of Here's Your Prescription.
I spent my life being next in line, hoping somebody's gonna listen. A story untold's never gonna unfold, so I'm gonna make the best of mine. Here's your prescription.
So, on today's episode, I thought maybe we could piggyback a little bit off of the last topic we talked about toxicity. I thought maybe today we could discuss toxic work environments or like toxic employees because I'm almost positive everyone has experienced that before. So, to start with, I wanted to kind of give some examples of like a toxic work environment or like what to look out for with toxic employees that you're working with. I do have an article pulled up here from BetterHelp, and the signs of a toxic work environment that they have here is feelings of stress that lead you to dread going to work every day, feeling
man.
overworked, bullying from coworkers or management, supervisors that take out their stress on their employees,
Oh man, I know that.
unclear workspace goals and vague company values, lacks of transparency in the workplace, things like that. Not much feedback, harassment, discrimination, abuse, obviously. Micromanagement is a big one.
Oh.
Lack of appreciation and acknowledgement, and the inability to move upward in the company. Being stuck in your position, pretty much.
Right.
So, I know that a lot of people deal with that. I would be shocked if a lot of people in the workforce don't deal with that kind of, at least
They might-
haven't once, you know?
Right.
So just kind of wanted to talk about that a little bit today. How do you feel about that? Of the examples I just gave, have you obviously experienced any of that?
I feel like I've experienced almost all of them,
Mm-hmm.
especially the micromanaging part. Um, it's the worst when you're doing your job and somebody is like nitpicking everything, and it's like, why are you like literally breathing down my neck? Like, just let me be. I will get the job done. Like, I am not a child, you know? It just makes you feel so like underappreciated and like in a sense harassed, you know? I mean,
Exactly.
at least for me. I don't know how you feel with micromanaging.
I can't stand it because my thoughts on it is if you're gonna hire someone to do the job, let them do their job, you know?
Mhm.
I mean, unless they're doing it very poorly, then obviously having to like check on them and make sure they're doing the job correctly makes sense. But like if you know
Right.
they're getting their work done, just leave them alone. Checking in every
Yeah.
once in a while, maybe, but like every day or when they're working on something, going in and like checking on it, things like that. I can't stand that. It makes you feel like there's no sense of privacy with
Right.
micromanaging, you know? I feel like I'm being watched at all hours of the day, and it kind of makes it hard to work when that happens. It stresses you the hell out, and like,
And
honestly,
it ends up making you feel burnt out, doesn't it? Like it
yeah,
just eventually leads to that, you know?
like this is what I
It's
can expect coming in today. Like, they don't trust me, you know?
it's it's not even like they don't trust you, and it feels like I'm in trouble all the time. Like I'm doing
Yeah.
something bad even though I'm doing excellent work. It just makes you feel awful.
So, another question in this article kind of goes over how a toxic work environment can impact your mental health. Um,
Oh yeah.
Topics we've covered already, and I think that this is good to talk about because a lot of people just think that they're stressed at work and then they don't
Mhm.
understand why they're having problems outside of work. Um,
Mhm.
so it says studies show that internal and external workplace factors can contribute to depression and impede productivity, judgment, and career prospects. Other effects of a toxic work environment on mental health can include the following: insomnia, physical pain and discomfort, changes of appetite, a sense of dread, feeling drained, exhausted, problems with memory, intolerance, and agitation. Um,
Mhm.
Definitely can relate to that kind of stuff. Work related stress leads to severe mental burnout. Um,
Mhm.
Literally, I've had so many jobs where I just dread going in every day. Like, the sense of
Yeah.
stress and like anxiety you feel having to step into the workplace. I've I've definitely felt that. I'm sure you have obviously too.
Oh yeah. I got to the point where I would cry going to work. Like I would be driving to work and I would cry because I had to go back there. You know? I dreaded going in there. I freaking it was the worst. I don't feel that anymore just because I guess like I don't have a long commute. I don't have to wake up at 3 in the morning anymore. But it got really bad, at least for me.
Yeah, yeah. I A lot of anxiety too. I've had there's been a few jobs I've had where yeah, the same. I Anxiety. I would honestly there's been jobs where I've called out a lot just strictly because I so stressed out I just didn't want to go. Um
Mhm.
I mean it's not good, but um
Right.
you can't help it honestly. I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that.
Right.
Um but yeah, and then you start to have problems like in your personal life or like I've even dreamed about work because I was so stressed out or like if I thought I did something wrong, like I was so afraid, not afraid, but like anxious to go to work the next day because I knew that I was going to be talked to about it and that, you know, um
That is horrible, and I know how it feels because it's happened to me too. I hate having to go to sleep and dream about work. Like it's it like there should be a work life balance. I shouldn't have to worry about work when I'm at home. I should just do what I need to do at home, have fun, enjoy my life outside of work. But
mhm.
I know for a fact I didn't have a work life balance and I would worry about work when I was at home.
Yeah, me too. Micromanaging and like having bad upper management is one of the reasons I feel like a lot of people leave, but it's frowned upon to tell like how when you're in a job interview and they're like, "Oh, like why did you choose to leave your last job?"
Yeah, you
I
have to lie.
Yeah, I wish you could say it was because of the management, but I'm seeking something more or, this field interests me more than the other. Like I wish you could just be honest because a lot of the time it is because of management and how poorly run the company is. Um
Yeah,
but like we're not allowed to talk about that. you
right.
know?
Which should be something that you should be able to say. But at the same time, you're interviewing in a new place, and that new place, you don't know if they're toxic as well. And if you're like, hey, I left because of poor management or management team is so unreliable, whatever, and then they're like, oh, we're the same way, they won't hire you.
Yeah. Um yeah, and sometimes it's like your management is so bad that you can't even go to them. Like if you have concerns or anything like that, like a lot of times, I mean myself included, I've been too afraid to talk to management about it because one, they're
Mhm.
either not going to care, or two, I
Mhm.
have like this fear of being fired for like voicing my opinion or talking
Yeah.
about my feelings at work. And so you
Mhm.
just kind of deal with it and like I mean, it makes the situation worse, but you can't go talk to them about it.
Mhm.
Um yeah, I mean I
I know it's
friend
happened to me. It's happened to me. I like how they're always like, "My door is always open." Yeah, it's not really because as soon as I tell you, you're gonna go gossip. That's the worst. I have literally seen managers and executives gossip about employees. It's the worst. I was in HR for 6 years and just some of the things I've heard, like, it's horrible. And then there's some HR reps that also don't respect. confidentiality and stuff like that, and they will also go and gossip, or they'll be like, "Oh, this employee came in and he complained about you," and I don't know, it's bad, you know?
Yeah, you should be able to trust in the upper management, especially your human resources department. They're supposed to be there for you in that kind of for that reason. Um,
Mhm.
I kind of want to give an example. I'm not gonna say who. I don't want to out anyone, but
Mhm.
I knew this person, and they were working for pretty much an all male run company, and she was a woman. Um,
Mhm.
and not physically, but verbal sexual harassment every day. And she tried to express her concerns to her manager, who also
Mhm.
happened to be a male. And pretty much in short words, he said, tough shit. Um, these are our best, sales reps. Like, there's nothing we're going to do about it. And then she decided to take it to the CEO of the company, who was a woman. And so
Mhm.
she felt like maybe there was something that she'd be able to do. So she sent this long email explaining everything that happened, all of the instances where she was being verbally sexually harassed and what the employees were saying to her. And the CEO not even didn't even respond to her email, but sent a physical letter in the mail, essentially saying, "Tough shit. We're not doing anything about it." And so she decided, even though it was a bad financial decision because they were, short on money, that she was going to leave the company because it was starting to affect her mental health.
Mhm.
And her husband was having a hard time with it, but he didn't want to do anything because, that was her job and not getting involved. And so she decided to leave because it was too much and her company didn't care about her. Sexual harassment is one of those things that should not at all, 0%, be tolerated in the workplace. And when
Mhm.
your management or the CEO of the company is telling you tough shit like that,
Mhm.
that's one of the most toxic things I've ever heard. Um,
Mhm.
and it just sucked because like you could tell that it was affecting her a lot,
Mhm.
and like not having no trust that your company's gonna have your back. I mean,
That's horrible.
yeah, it was awful, like for both management and the owner of the company to be like, sorry, we're not doing anything about it, like suck it up. Like imagine having to, like, you're stressed to go into work in general, imagine knowing
Mhm.
you're gonna get sexually harassed. Like
That's horrible.
that would make you, it was just like an everyday thing. Like she's been there for 6 months or so, and she said
Mhm.
it pretty much started when she like started working there.
Oh,
So every
wow.
day for like 6 months she has to go in knowing that that's gonna happen. I mean, you know
That's the worst. And she didn't, I know this is kind of deviating, but she didn't sue? Like, that would have been a good lawsuit right there.
I feel like, I think that was an option on the table, but whose word against whose, especially when all of the management and the owner is like against her, I don't think it would
Uh-huh.
have been like, because
Oh,
everything was done verbally, nothing was done like in writing
in
or
writing.
yeah. And so I think it just wouldn't have worked in her favor. Unfortunately, I wish it would, but that's, and I
And
did want to ask. Oh, go ahead.
uh-huh. No, go ahead and ask.
I was just gonna ask. I wanted to see if you had any specific examples that you can remember. Doesn't have to be from current, but could be from past jobs where
Mhm.
there was like a specific incident that happened that was
Mhm.
like extremely toxic that either sent you over the edge and made you quit or anything like that.
So, I had a really bad manager when I was working at a bank. I'm not going to say which bank. She was the worst. The my literally my first day when I got there, when I got hired, which by the way that they hire people at this bank is the weirdest thing, because they do like mass interviews, and then they hire you, but the people that are interviewing you are not in the bank that you're going to be at. It's so weird the way they handle this. Um
Mm-hmm.
but I went and I met with the manager, and she was nice at first until I told her that in my previous job I was in management and HR, and her attitude changed. And It seemed like she thought that maybe I was gonna go for her job or something, because literally as soon as I said that I was in management and I did HR as well, even her face, like the way that she was looking at me changed. And she was a total bitch. I mean, she would literally no. Let me tell you something. As a teller, you have to try to get people to sit with a personal banker to try to see like if they want to open a credit card or an account or whatever. It's part of like your quota. Um, and the it'll give you the prompt on the computer, and you have to talk to the guest, I mean not the guest, the client, and try to make them make an appointment to sit with a banker. Now, she would literally go behind the window, and obviously they can't hear, um because there's like bulletproof windows. And she would literally be like, you guys have to do this, or otherwise you need to quit and find a new job, because obviously this is not the job for you. Who does that? Like, how are you going to say,
Jeez.
like, either you do this or get the fuck out? She was the worst. Even when I gave my 2 weeks notice, she's like, well, you know, it's short of 2 weeks, so um you're not going to be hireable here anymore. And I said, that's fine. I never want to work for this bank ever again. This is the management that you have. Like, it's the worst. I mean, there's so many things that I could pinpoint that she did that was horrible. Um, but it it gave me such a bad taste. Like, previous to that, I had worked at another company which was retail. I did management, I did HR. I did start from the bottom. I did promote several times. And I was there for 9 years, and I would not have left if it wasn't for me moving. I was happy where I was. I enjoyed my job. But then I came to this, and it was the worst. I wish I could say her name and like have her hear this.
For legal reasons, we cannot.
Right, we won't, but uh I really hate her. But yeah, that's one. The whole sexual harassment, I actually remember this guy that kept saying shit to one of the employees.
Hmm.
Um and someone overheard. I wasn't there that day, but someone overheard and actually brought it up to the HR, like the executive HR, and he got like it was weird because he got called in for the sexual harassment, but then he ended up getting arrested because he had drugs in his locker.
Okay.
And I was like, "What?" Like, and nobody knew apparently. Like, it was like it just, I don't know. It kind of like a domino effect or whatever.
Interesting. So I can remember one instance for me personally. It's actually the
Mhm.
biggest one that I've ever dealt with, and it was absolute bullshit. But
Mhm.
I was working for a company, legal reasons I won't say who. It's a multi-billion-dollar company. I'd rather not.
Mhm.
But this was about almost a decade ago, so a long time ago. But I was working, and I was working my way up to supervisor. Um,
Mhm.
and I had a close family member of mine die, and I got the news during my shift, and so I just started. I had a breakdown, and so I was
Mhm.
like, I have to leave. Like, I can't be
Mhm.
here right now. And so the supervisor on duty was totally fine with it. She was like, of course we understand. Just like keep us updated.
Uh-huh.
Our manager, who was new, by the way, I couldn't stand her. She was one of the worst managers I've ever had. She was one of those people
Mhm.
that thought she knew everything. Like,
Mhm.
she didn't have a lot of experience in that job that we were doing. And
Mhm.
so she just came in because she had been a supervisor elsewhere. And so she just got hired on as well, the manager actually of our store. Um,
Mhm.
and she just thought because she had management experience, she knew what she was doing, even though
Mhm.
we as employees had to essentially teach her the job we were doing. And so
Mhm.
nobody really respected her for that reason, but she
Mhm.
was awful. I to this day, if I ever saw her, ooh, um, but I had my family member pass away, and I had to call out of work the next day, the next 2 days, because I was just a
Uh-huh.
mess. I also wanted to help um, his mother with the funeral stuff because she just was not functioning. Like, she just wasn't there. Her son died, and, she was having a
Yeah.
hard time, and so I wanted to be there for her. And so I called out and told my manager, and she was like, okay, that's fine. Um, and then a few days later, I went back into work, and one of my coworkers was like, hey, she's been talking badly about you to everyone behind your back, saying how, like, untrustworthy you are and, like, how you're never here and you call out all the time. And I was like, really? Are you kidding me? And he's like, I think she's gonna fire you. And I was like, okay. I couldn't stand working there anyway because of her. And so I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna quit. Like, I don't even want to deal with it. I'm just gonna quit. And
Mhm.
so I came in the next day when she was there because that day she wasn't there. But
Mhm.
I came in the next day. I didn't even go to my shift. I just came in and I was like, "Hey, I'm quitting. I can't be here anymore. I heard that you were talking about me. I don't want to work for someone like that, and so I'm leaving." And
Uh-huh.
being young and naive, you're supposed to sign termination paperwork at that time when you're, leaving a job. But
Mhm.
she was like, I don't have time to do this right now. Come back tomorrow and we can sign the paperwork, right?
Mhm.
My first mistake. So I come back the next day to sign the paperwork. Mind you, I am quitting. I am the one
Mhm.
quitting.
Mhm.
She put on the paperwork that she was firing me and dated it 2 days prior to when I was quitting.
Oh
And she
no.
wouldn't change it. And I just didn't want to fucking deal with it anymore and I wanted my paycheck. And so I was like, whatever. So I just signed it. So on record, it says that I was fired, which
Uh-huh.
is not true, but I just didn't
Uh-huh.
understand how that stuff worked back then.
Mhm.
Um, I was like 19. So, um, but I tried reaching out to corporate to like pretty much let them know how shitty of a manager she was and like what
Uh-huh.
situation I was put in. During the time that we were signing the paperwork, I explained to her, like, this is why I called out. I had a family member die. I was a wreck. His mother, was not
Uh-huh.
functioning and she needed help. I was very close to her. Um,
Uh-huh.
and she's like, well, I had an aunt die last week and you didn't see me leave. I missed the funeral. And I was like, first of all, and I literally said to her face, I was like, sorry, I'm a better family member than you. Like, sorry that my family's more important than work. Like, and she did not like that. But corporate pretty much came back and told me that there's nothing they can do about it. Like, they weren't even gonna look into it. Because
Oh
a
wow.
lot of the people I was working with at that time totally would have had my back,
Uh-huh.
but they wouldn't even do anything about it. And so it just, I just dropped it. But
Mhm.
I don't think I'll ever forget that because, I mean, good God. Like you said, I wish I could say her name because, oh my God, she was just the worst manager I've ever had. And that's saying a lot because I've had a lot of bad managers.
Oh my god.
But honestly, okay, so that actually kind of ties into what I wanted to mention next.
Mhm.
Signs of toxic employees. um,
Oh.
Not even just management. You could have bad management or good management, but there's always going to be some employees that are awful. Um,
Oh.
I know you
Uh-huh.
have some. So on this workhuman.com, it's another article that I have pulled up. I'll leave the links to these in the description, by the way, if you want to take a look at them yourself. But so it says that some signs of toxic employees, they show entitlement beyond what they're earning.
Uh-huh.
They demonstrate aggression towards others. They deploy
Mhm.
passive aggression and defensiveness.
Mhm.
They hold values that don't align with the company. They're selfish, unwilling to listen. They refuse to take criticism. They
Mhm.
gossip and create drama. And they take
Mhm.
credit for the work of others.
Wow.
all of which I have experienced. I know you have too. um,
Yeah.
but bad management is one thing, but it's
Bad
another thing.
coworkers is even worse.
I really do believe that. I mean, I've had a lot of people be extremely entitled. You know what? Especially people that are newer than you,
Oh my god, yes.
where they come in and they think that they know everything and they try and tell you how to do your job. And you're like, hold up, wait a minute.
You
You
just
know,
started. Calm your ass.
I've had that.
Oh my god.
Oh my gosh. Can you give me an example? I know you have a lot. Don't name anyone, don't name companies, but can you give me any example? I know you have some.
Oh, yeah. Someone that used to work with the company 20 years ago, um, got hired at the time again. And then so she thought that she showed entitlement and stuff because oh my god, she worked there 20 years ago. Obviously in 20 years things change, right? Like it's not going to stay the same. And so she had to like learn all the stuff for the department that we were working in, and I had gone over how to do certain things. uh 3 days. Okay, usually it'll take like 1 day for somebody to pick it up. No, it took her like 3 days to pick this up. She messed up on it, and she literally told my supervisor, oh, I didn't get taught how to do this correctly. Are you fucking kidding me?
Oof.
Like, I literally spent 3 days, which I could have been doing my stuff, because, my supervisor asked me to train her. And she goes and says that she was never taught this in front of me to my supervisor. I about lost it. I had to walk away and hold myself back because I literally wanted to go off. Her, like, in order to take payments and stuff like that, it usually takes someone like a week of just like looking at it and whatnot. It took her a whole month to learn how to process a payment. But she always acts like she's better than all of us. And she would like always talk about the back in the day, and like who cares? That was 20 years ago. This is now. We're doing this. Like get with the program.
Jesus. Yeah.
And
Ugh.
I don't know, she's so slow. Um who knows what she does, And but the worst part is that she would act like she was management when management was not in. That's the worst, in my opinion.
When they know they're not going to get caught because the managers aren't there,
Uh-huh.
they think you're not going to say anything.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's. Hmm. Honestly, I could just say that that's probably why micromanaging exists for people like that. And
Uh-huh.
instances like that, I can agree with micromanaging.
Mhm.
But yeah, that's happened to me at my not the job I'm at now, but the job I had before this.
Mhm.
Same company of the one that I told you I had a bad manager at, by the way.
Mhm.
We had a new guy come in. He had worked at the company a few years prior to, and I was actually working my way up towards being a supervisor here as well because I had so much experience at this company already, and
Mhm.
that's why I came in was I came in as a base employee, but I was working my way up to be a supervisor, and he came in literally day one started to like take over. This is what this is. This is how we're supposed to do it. And I'm like, okay, the company is always evolving. They're always changing the rule book. They're always changing things. What you
Mhm.
did 4 years ago is not at all what we're doing. What we're doing, especially not at this store.
Mhm.
Like you're gonna do it the way that we do it. You're not gonna do it the way that you did it years ago. Um, he was also making I hate that I have to like not specify it. He was making the product wrong because he was doing it the way that, you know, he did it before and not how we're doing it now.
Mhm.
He actually made things so much more stressful because of that. It
Uh-huh.
got so bad that I had to complain to management, and he had a sit down conversation, um, pretty much telling him to stop being entitled and a know it all. Um,
Mhm.
my God, that job, by the way, I'll just say on management and employees was so awful. I was only there for like 6 months before I
Mhm.
decided to leave, and then go to the job that I'm at now. But
Mhm.
that is a perfect example of a job where I dreaded going to work every single day. I couldn't stand it. And I know that the people that were close to me knew how much I absolutely hated that job. um, Awful, just awful. Um, but that's a recent experience. I mean, I've had quite a few, but you know, do we have time?
Yeah,
um,
that too. Like there's more there's other stuff, but yeah. No. We should not. Otherwise it's going to be like a whole day episode.
oh my god, a 24-hour episode. um, but yeah, so we're a few episodes in now. So we have the email. It's here's your prescription at gmail.com. Also, our Instagram DMs, which you can, you know, message us on. We would love to hear from you and your experiences, especially about stuff like this, because I know that people can relate to this. So tell us, you know, your experiences. Again, everything will remain anonymous. You know, we just want to share and know that other people are relating to what we're talking to. Um, I'm also gonna we'll leave the links to all of our socials, personal and podcast, in the description.
Mhm.
So if you're interested in finding us personally or, you know, updates on our podcast socials, they'll be down there for you. Yeah. But thank you so much for listening again. And we will talk to you later.
Bye.